Asher Dixon, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks, Elijah. Thanks for having me.
So, why don't we start off with a bit of who you are and your background, kind of where you got to where you are today? Because in this podcast, we do a lot of stories and biographical sketches, but obviously, I want to get into what you're doing at Red Balloon and with social media. But let's start
Yeah.
off with a bit of your background and how you got there.
Yeah. So I had a bit of, for a social media manager, I guess, an unconventional upbringing. I was raised on a farm in North Idaho with lots of cows, horses, chickens, no phones, no screens until I was about 17 years old. My parents had their phones and computer that we were allowed to look at every once in a while. But yeah, until I was 17 years old, no devices of my own. And so, yeah, I was just raised up in outside of town in the woods. We were homeschooled, went to a homeschool co-op about an hour away from where my parents lived. And after that, shortly after that, I took 2 gap years and decided that in those gap years, I just needed to take a swing at something. So I applied to this private Christian university, New St. Andrews, here in Moscow, Idaho, just to see if I could network, if I could meet people, see what job opportunities might come my way, what relationships might come my way. And so, yeah, I just took a swing. And after a year of that, I got an internship here at Red Balloon, doing what I do now, social media management. And they had a great opportunity for me because they were about a year old at the time. And so we were able to just scale together rather than them needing a perfect professional right away. And so it was a really cool opportunity for me to just learn and grow into the role. But throughout my high school years, I did a few jobs like food service. I worked in a restaurant for 4 years. Um, I worked down in the Idaho State Capitol as a page, so I got a lot of professional experience there, meeting state senators, state representatives, Speaker of the House, and having to learn a sense of professionalism and learn a lot of soft skills as far as being able to talk to people that are a lot more successful and important than you. So yeah, I pulled a lot of soft skills that way. And then I went down to Moscow in 2023 and I've just been here ever since.
Yeah. So, what did you think about like when you were younger? What kind of were your aspirations or dreams of, okay, I'm going to do this when I'm older? Since as you said, you never really had a screen or saw a screen until
Yeah.
about 17, and you're just on this farm growing up with land and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a funny story there too, because I never really had a perfect like career goal. Like this is what I'm working towards my whole life. I always was interested in a ton of things, like being a chef, being a singer, things like that. The only thing I could find that linked all these things was, I always wanted to do something that would like give to other people. I always wanted to create, um, and communicate in ways that weren't just, uh, I guess your normal everyday conversation. I wanted to go above and beyond and do things that impacted people's lives and help people's lives. And so when I got this opportunity, it's really cool. I'm the only extrovert in my family, and so it was a cool opportunity for me. I've always been kind of looking for a way to use that skill for conversation. And so when I got the internship here, that was just a great opportunity for me to learn a special way to really hone that in. And I had a couple really good mentors here at Red Balloon. Tim Clark, he's a political strategist and marketing strategist, and he really helped me learn how to just do broad-based communication through social media, email marketing, things like that, how to really get a good sense of entrepreneurship and business. Same with Andrew Krafjet's the CEO here at Rebel. And so, yeah, even though I never really had that clear direction throughout my childhood, I always knew I wanted to do something that could help impact people and shape their lives for the better. And yeah, it just turned out that communication, like social media and brand building, was that avenue. Sorry about that.
Mhm. So, you mentioned that when you started this internship at Red Balloon, they were about a year old. So,
Yeah.
as they're not to where they are today and they're still growing and everything, what did that kind of look like as, hey, we're bringing on this person who doesn't necessarily have all of the skills and the
Mhm.
professionalism and this resume of social media jobs and everything.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, we're only a year old and we're not
Mhm.
as big as we are today.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was we had a pretty candid conversation with Tim Clark, who was the the head of marketing at the time. We just sat down, we had a candid conversation with about 5 other interns at the time, where he said, look, we just need someone who can help us communicate with our audiences online, and you guys all have an opportunity to step up and really take that and run with it. And so at first it was about 5 or 6 of us doing it, and then after I think about 2 or 3 months, most of the other kids were still in college and doing other things, and I was just ready to jump back in. I was about 21 at the time after my first year, because I took those 2 gap years. And so I was just ready to jump into the workforce. So then when I had that ambition, that opportunity, that excitement, they really just were able to give me the keys and say, hey, run with it. Let's see what you can do with this position.
So you had this internship and it was you and a couple of other people, and
Yeah.
then they're just looking for someone to kind of run with it and get social media out there. And you're
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm ready to jump into the workforce. Where'd you go from there?
Yeah. And then after that, it was really just working really tight with the marketing team here, which was at the time it was Tim Clark, Isaac Lopez. I don't know if you've met either of them, but they were both just really accomplished professionals who could help me like learn all the soft skills of the corporate world. Really, I had done 3 months in that internship in Boise, like I mentioned, but I'd never really had a corporate job before. And so they really helped me learn a lot of the following up, a lot of the scheduling, I guess, like all the guidelines for how to conduct yourself, and how to run things in an office space versus just kind of more gunslinging approach that I've had with jobs before, like the food service or something like that. Um, and so, yeah, after that really was just trial and error. A lot of the times we were trying to follow trends. We were trying to do a lot of culture war approach with our social media, which we found some success with. We grew from 3,000 to 17,000 on X. We grew from 10,000 to 40,000 on Instagram, and from about 2,000 to 10,000 on LinkedIn at the time. And so there was a lot of just trial and error at that time, trying Reels, trying Threads on X, trying all kinds of like paid ad placements, things like that. But it was really, we weren't getting a huge return for our investment in social media, just because we're a B2B business, and it's hard to be convincing. It's hard to convince someone, hey, spend $4,500 through
Mhm.
through an Instagram ad. And so really, when we were going through that whole process, it just allowed us to learn a lot about, okay, through trial and error, what works, what doesn't work. And so about a year ago, we had a few shakeups in the marketing team as far as personnel goes. And then we refocused onto Aaron Youngren became the new head of marketing. And then he shifted the focus of marketing onto, now that we have this reputation, we have a good online presence, everyone knows where we're at as a company, then let's just refocus. How do we start doing how do we have better strategy for lead gen? How do we have better strategy for, now that we have people's attention, how do we really hone in on where our audience actually is online? And so we switched our focus fully over to LinkedIn at that time, and really focused on personal brand building for our CEO. And at that moment was we discovered there was a lot of opportunity on specifically LinkedIn, for just through the demographic breakdowns. You can see people's job titles, the company size, you can see industry, you can see all kinds of details on who exactly is interacting with your content. And so we just found a bigger opportunity there in inside the actual platform itself, versus with most other platforms, you're going to have to break it down with third-party tools. So that switch happened, and we just 2-3x our lead gen pretty quickly from social media, just by focusing in on LinkedIn. So yeah, the past year has just been really focusing in on that. It's been the most dramatic shift in our social media strategy.
Yeah. So as you kind of started out with them and you don't have that much experience, did you kind of just learn it from doing it? And was that kind of the same for like all of the platforms, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever that may be? Or was it kind of, okay, I'm going to learn by doing, but then each platform, I guess to a certain extent, each platform's different, but was
Yeah.
there kind of
Yes.
things that worked for every platform?
One thing that we learned that really worked for every platform is, well, it depends on your approach. Because the first thing we learned was that people will always get behind. You can always get people to get behind you if you dive into the culture war. So if you're gonna have a strategy where you just want attention and you're just trying to get out there and get people to recognize what you're doing, diving into the culture war is going to immediately get you that sort of traction because people get the most moved by things that obviously emotionally move them, right? So that worked on basically every platform. But if you want your strategy to be lead gen, you have to refocus and think about, okay, where are the people that I want to attract actually spending their time? Again, as like a B2B company, we're trying to sell to CXOs, we're trying to sell to C-suite people, executives, we're trying to sell to like middle management and people and business owners, right? And so people like that aren't going to be spending their time scrolling reels all the time. They're networking, they're doing business, and typically the only platform where that happens is LinkedIn. And it's not that you can't find B2B leads on these other social media platforms. It's just that LinkedIn is probably the most open book for that sort of social media marketing out there. Um, and so it depends on your strategy when you're looking for, uh, yeah, what kind of traction to build. If you want to just get attention and be loud and out there, joining Culture War is, yeah, probably your best bet. But if you want to like honestly gain some lead gen, you really need to think about, okay, where's my audience going to be? Where do we need to focus our efforts? And we don't we don't have the biggest marketing budget either, right? If you have 200,000 marketing budget every year, $1,000 marketing budget every year, you can afford to spend a little bit more money to get in front of people on Instagram and X. But we just don't have that. And so if you want to be really practical in your approach and save costs, but still be intentional and build a good audience, LinkedIn is probably going to be your best bet for B2B marketing.
Yeah, so you said y'all guys got traction doing like culture war stuff.
Yeah.
And obviously that'll, hit the charts, but then sometimes it'll die down and
Yeah.
it's not maybe that
Exactly.
consistent level. So where have you seen to draw the line of, hey, we're gonna do these like cultural trending topics,
Yeah.
um, and that will gain us, thousands of views for one day, but then we don't want to just keep doing that because then we're just going to have kind of this hill instead of, hey, we're shooting up and we're staying on that line of thousands of views a day or thousands of leads a day or whatever that may be. So where have you
Yeah.
seen to draw that line?
Yeah. A big part of that has just been being really honest with like what our goal is through each piece of content. So we have a weekly writing day where we sit down and we strategize on what are our upcoming posts going to be, what is that going to look like, brainstorming for this sort of content. So it's not that we don't ever engage in the culture war. I don't know how much you've checked out our Red Balloon stuff, but like last week we had, like that famous picture of like the Mexican guy waving the flag up on top of the police car. We did a post on that, but the reason we did a post on that was to show what we illustrated was like all these people have jobs. All these people are out in the workforce right now, um, or maybe in the like unemployment line right now, but they're looking for jobs, right? And so like when you're hiring, our point through this ad was when you're hiring, you need to look deeper than just someone's resume. You can't just settle for them looking good on paper. You have to dig deeper and look at character, and look at more than just past job experience, right? Because there's just and the reason that was a dividing line for us was, yes, it was talking about something in the culture war, but we weren't just talking about it and like calling people names, or we weren't just being like, this needs to end, or this political person needs to be out of a job, or this sort of person should be in jail. It's taking the culture war and turning that towards something relevant for your business. And so doing something culturally relevant, always great in social media, right? You want to be on top of what's happening and the trends and things, but you don't want to chase the trends just to chase the trends, because then it's going to distract from actually building a reputation for your business. So the dividing line is if we're just jumping in there only to like stir the pot and create a little drama, that's not really productive for your social media strategy. What you need to focus on is there any cultural trends that we can point out and focus on to help like emphasize and bring clarity to what we do as a business. That's really where you want that dividing line to be. Is it like bringing up drama, or is it actually bringing clarity to what we do as a business?
Yeah, and so you mentioned earlier, kind of how y'all took the shift and started building, Andrew Croppershat's profile and everything, and growing it to multi-thousand followers and everything.
Yeah.
So where have y'all also drawn the line of saying, "Hey, we're gonna grow the business page," but then we're also just like when someone thinks of Red Balloon, they probably think of Andrew Croppershat's, which
Yeah.
to a certain extent is good. But then
Yep.
eventually, Red Balloon might be ran by someone else or have this different CEO or whatever that may look like as time goes on and things change. So where have y'all drawn the line of, hey, we're gonna grow his profile and everything, and like he's gonna be the face of Red Balloon, to
Yeah.
also we want to grow Red Balloon in a way that once a new CEO or a new person comes along, that Red Balloon doesn't die and it still
Yeah.
stays Red
Yeah.
Balloon and it can be Red Balloon without this person.
Yeah. No, that's a great question. I think one of the ways that we've maintained the Red Balloon presence while emphasizing his profile has just been really like tailoring his profile to the Red Balloon brand. And so when you see Andrew, you always see Red Balloon, right? On LinkedIn and all these platforms. You're not just going to see Andrew and his kids on this profile. You're going to see the company name. You're going to see his job position. And then also in all the posts that he does, we usually are 95% of the time are tailoring all the graphics to be Red Balloon ads. So it'll have the Red Balloon logo on there. It'll have like our taglines. It'll have our CTAs. And so if we were to get a new, like if there were ever a point of where, Andrew's, retiring and he's done with the stage of life, and we're needing to switch over to a different profile, then we would continue having the same sort of content that would continue to promote the Red Balloon brand, but still be personal, right? It's kind of in a different way, but perhaps like the OpenAI CEO, right? Like you see a lot of like his brand, and you like kind of connect his face with them. But if they were to get a new CEO, it wouldn't be the end of the brand because often what he's talking about is promoting his company, right? Or like if you had like when Elon stepped down from Tesla, it as CEO of Tesla, it wasn't the end of the world because they had a new person come up in his place, but that person also just took on constantly branding their content around Tesla. So it's just like not relying too much on the one person's personality, but instead allowing their personality to be a attracting point for people, like or a rally point for people to get gathered around, but keep it branded as Rebel and stuff, right? It's like the building here. It's like, yeah, like so whoever owns the building doesn't really matter because whenever the building's sold, it's still going to have the Red Balloon logo on it, right? And so it's just like maintaining your brand presence and awareness, no matter who's pushing out the content. The other thing that I would mention is we also encourage other Red Balloon employees to even if it's not Red Balloon branded content or Red Balloon related content, to post regularly and to keep their presence alive on social media. Because when you do that, it allows there to be a diversity of approach to the social media branding. And so it's not shocking if someone else starts talking about social media, right? If it was only ever Andrew talking about our brand, and then all of a sudden it's a new face and no one else has ever talked about Red Balloon, that'd be pretty shocking. But since we have a good amount of employees putting out their personal content, Red Balloon content, all sorts of different, a variety of things, it just allows for it to not be as shocking when someone else might step in.
Yeah, and so I know you've posted a lot on recently on LinkedIn. I don't know if you've done it on other social media platforms, but is that kind of the hopes of maybe building this other brand or tailoring it to Red Balloon or just kind of keeping your social media presence alive as you mentioned just recently?
Yeah. I think so. My main point through that and goal through that is to build. It's twofold, I guess I'll say. One first is to build my personal brand. I want to continue helping I want to stay at Red Balloon as long as I can, but I also want to continue helping other people learn how to, I put it, authentically and responsibly use social media. I want to help people understand that, like, yeah, a lot of people see social media as like a net negative. They think that there's a lot of toxicity that spreads on social media, and then a lot of like terrible things. And I agree, there is a lot of terrible things that spread on social media, but I think often the part that's talked about less is that a lot of good things and truth spreads on social media as well. And that's just an opportunity that we've never had before. We've never been able to speak. Like, I've never been able to speak to the most powerful CEOs in the world before social media, right? I've never been able to take a small idea that would have taken me years to get in front of people through either radio or TV or newspapers. And now I can put it in front of millions. And if it's a good idea that will actually help people and solve problems, it's going to blow up overnight. And then I'm able to help millions of people overnight. That's just an opportunity that we've never seen before. And so I don't think we should see social media as much as like positive or negative as much as a tool. It's like a hammer, right? You can use a hammer to break a window, or you can use a hammer to build a house. So the tool itself is not responsible for the intent of the person behind it. And the nature of it isn't specifically evil or good. It just depends on how you use the platform. So that's the first reason I really would want to continue building my personal brand, is just to allow and help people continue to learn how to use social media authentically and responsibly. The second part is, the more people within a company, how do I say this perfectly? I guess the more individuals within any company are considered as experts, the more likely that company is going to be seen as a really reliable brand. So when you have people like Andrew, me, Aaron Youngren, and a couple others all posting about their own individual industries or niches, that just creates a really good reputation for the company. Because if the company is full from top to bottom, full of experts, why wouldn't you trust them to help you figure out how to do X for your business, right? Depending on whichever company you're talking about, whether it's Red Balloon or someone else. If everyone within that organization is an expert and not just, or even an aspiring expert, right? They're hungry for knowledge, they're hungry for learning. And they're not just someone sitting back and saying, yeah, I guess you can pay me to help you guys out. But everyone in that organization is an expert and is striving to learn, to grow, and to do excellent work for you. It just creates an excellent company reputation and draws a lot of more eyeballs to that brand.
Yeah. So you recently did a LinkedIn post of a challenge of getting 100 comments on it. So where did that idea come from? And kind of, because from what I remember, I think you hit 100 comments
Yeah.
relatively quick.
Yeah.
So kind of what was the idea behind that? Did you know that 60% of consumers avoid brands with unattractive logos, even if they have good reviews? Well, Resurrection Design Co. helps kingdom minded businesses fix that problem with award winning brand and web design. And right now, Resurrection Design Co. is offering a free website design or redesign if you already have a website to the first 2 listeners of this podcast who sign up for a brand identity package. When you sign up for a brand identity package, RDC will help you attract your ideal customers and strengthen your credibility in the market. But this offer is only valid for the first 2 podcast listeners who sign up this month. So if you are interested or just want to know more about the service, head over to resurrectiondesign.co/creator-corner. That's resurrectiondesign.co/creator-corner, and tell Josh I sent you over. Did you have something, whether it was an article, PDF, blog post, or some custom text online, that you were required to read, but you did not want to read it? Well, that is where the Saga Reader app comes in handy, because why read when you can listen? Saga essentially takes articles, blog posts, PDF, or any custom text and turns it into high quality audio. You can simply paste a link, choose a file, and press play from the different voices that Saga has, and it will play back your text to you. You can listen at whatever speed you would like, whether you're the type of person that listens at just normal speed or 2 times speed. You can skip around to hit certain parts of the texts, pause, play, fast forward,
whatever you want to do. And Saga works on any device. Now you may be thinking, why use Saga when there's things like Speechify? Well, here's the thing that comes in handy. Saga has plans perfect for anyone. You can get 1.5 million characters, which is around 20 to 25 hours of listening for only $8 a month. You can get 3 million characters, which is 40 to 55 hours of listening for $12 a month. Or you can go full on premium for $16 a month and get 5 million characters, which is around 70 to 90 hours of listening. But if you use my code Creator Corner, you can get that first month for completely free of charge. So head on over to saga-reader.app and use code Creator Corner to let them know I sent you over and to get your first month for completely free. That's saga-reader.app and use code Creator Corner for your first month free.
So the idea behind that, I laid it out in the post too. The idea behind that was kind of, I've been talking to a lot of people, like I just shared with you, about how social media can be used for a lot of good, to be authentic and responsible, to connect with your audience, to connect with other people, build real relationships. And I really wanted to show and not tell. And so I kind of had the idea, I've been seeing a lot of these like day 1 of 30 to do X, day 1 of 30 to do, I don't know, get this sort of engagement. And I was kind of like, some of them were kind of corny, but I was like, how can I use that sort of post template to do something that shows not tell, from that does show and tell for anyone that might want to work with me, where I can point to and say, this right here is a great example of the power of LinkedIn or social media. And so I really had the idea just to be like, let's just start a challenge for myself personally, where I go in and I say day 1 of 30 posting until I have 100 comments, or day 1 of, however many until I have 100 likes. And I was kind of thinking about like, hey, what's the most impressive metric? And likes are easy to get because it's like, you can just throw something that's easy to agree with out there and say, like this post if you agree. And typically you'll get a good chunk of people being like, oh, okay, whatever. And they don't really care. They're not really moved by your post. They aren't really getting behind anything. They're just dropping the like. It's easy. A comment takes a little more because you have to type something out and be a little more thoughtful with what you're doing. And on LinkedIn, it's especially powerful because LinkedIn's still a conversational platform. It's one of the only social media platforms out there that still relies mainly on conversations. So why I chose comments was because it would inspire more people to actually get in there and talk and converse. And then it also would generate more attention to the post. And so I was thinking comments is the way I would get more attention. I'd have more conversations, build more real relationships. And so I thought, what the heck, I'll just throw a post out there, see what happens. And I ended up getting it in under 12 hours. And so it was really funny because it was like, I thought this was going to take a minimum a week of me posting every day to get this. But it was excellent. It was amazing to see. It was like within 12 hours, people just loved a good challenge to get behind. I had one guy comment like 8 times on the post because he was just excited to get in on the action.
Yeah.
And so it was a fun opportunity to start real conversations, again, to show and not tell people the power of when you're being authentic, when you're putting yourself out there and being real. People want to help you out, and they also want to, something that we talk about a lot here is the more humanity you involve in a business process, the better. AI is good. It's good. It automates, it's good to automate things, good to be quick and good to be efficient, but you don't want to replace humanity within your organization because ultimately we've seen this with social media, right? Like people are continually get like depression rates skyrocketing. People are realizing the need for human interaction, for real human relationship. And so when you're bragging about online about how many people you're firing because now you can automate things, or you're bragging about how soulless your process is, it's kind of a turnoff for a lot of customers and a lot of people in your audience, because it's like, why should I follow you if you don't care ultimately about me, right? At all. Not that you should be focused on me, right? Because there's some people have, 1 million followers. So they might not even, obviously they won't know all their followers' names, but they should at least care that that person cares enough to click follow, and they want to keep up with their content. They want to hear what they have to say. You should still care about that person's effort. And so that's just something that we talk a lot here, is just keeping the humanity involved in it. I really wanted to be able to show people this is a way to keep the humanity in there too. This is how you can start real conversations, build real relationships, and just really actually start connecting with other human beings and not just scrolling on social media.
Hmm. Yeah. So when you did the 100 comments challenge, I don't know if you responded to it or anything, but I saw a comment from Darren Doan, and it was like,
Yeah.
Are the 100 comments including your replies or not so? Were they including your replies, or by now maybe it is just 100 comments without your replies?
Yeah. Originally, I think when I hit the 100, it was including my own replies. And then after, I think about another 24 36 hours, it got up to like 140 roughly. And that's when it was like actually 100 authentic comments outside of my own. Um, and I mean, ultimately, I don't care too much about the hard number, only because I don't want to rely on the vanity metrics of like, oh, I got this many likes or this many comments. It's like, I really just wanted to show people the possibility. Like if all the comments were me, that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
But at least getting like, getting to that 100 mark within a couple days, or even if it was like 75 or 80 and then 20 were mine, I wasn't gaming it to try and get to 100 and commenting on my own post. And if someone thinks that, I mean, I don't really care, because the point wasn't specifically about like achieving 100 comments as a perfect metric. The point was to show that you can authentically connect with people and put in effort into your content, and get out there, start real conversations, start real relationships. There's a couple guys that I've had really great conversations with based off of that post, off of the one I did the next day, seeing if I could get 100 likes. Just a lot of really great relationships that I've been building online now because of it. And that was really the point, was more, I had one guy reach out to me, and he's possibly going to be a client of mine because of that post, where he was like, I've been dying to see someone actually trying to connect with their audience. And so that was just like, ultimately my goal was to show people that, put in effort, try to start real conversations, build real relationships. Don't just do copy paste templates into your posts all the time. Don't have AI constantly write your posts for you. Put some effort into your content and try to actually connect with people, get in the replies. And that's why also I don't care about all the comments that I added through my replies. Is you have to, if you actually want to grow on social media, engage with the comments. You've got to show people that you're not just posting to get their interaction. You got to show them like, hey, I'm here for you too. I'm not just wanting super fans. I'm wanting like relationships out of this, and I'm wanting to connect off of it. So yeah, that's why I'd say that.
Yeah. So you're kind of striving to create more authentic, character-driven social media strategy, because a lot of people now seem to strive and want more character in things. Like, they're not longing for just this mind-numbing content anymore, but things that
Yes.
actually have depth to them and character. And okay, I'm actually involved into this story and everything. So as maybe there's this business that, whether it's, Red Balloon or whatever it may be, um, how do you think they can create more of this character in their
Mm.
business's social media strategy, where maybe they're not growing their CEO's profile to
Yeah.
tens of thousands of followers, and rather just, we've got the business's social media profile, but at the same time we see people are wanting more story-driven character, like there's more an authentic taste to it. How do you think they should go about that?
Yeah. I would say I think you just hit on it right there. Focus on storytelling. You want to make sure um, that you connect with your audience through like real human anecdotes, or maybe customer stories or things like that. Just make sure you're putting, if you can't have a mascot or a CEO, essentially, something like that, where there's a figurehead for your social media brand. If you can't have that figurehead, I would just try to maintain a humanity to your corporate profile. So don't make everything an ad. Don't make everything, a sales pitch. try and throw out some, some humor out there, some real stories. Put effort into your content so that it's not just the same dry, hey, by the way, we help this kind of software business sell to blah, 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 and 10x their growth. And then everyone just scrolls by because that's the 18th version of that post that they've seen that day. You want to have a little more humanity. You want to put in a little more effort. I would say if you don't have a mascot or a CEO, a mascot being just a figurehead essentially for your company, um, I would just say probably start building one right away. It's really like as things are becoming more digital, AI is becoming more popular. People are just crying out for a lot of humanity, essentially. And that doesn't mean you can't involve AI in your processes ever. It doesn't mean you can't. It does, yeah. Obviously, it doesn't mean that you have to hire someone for your social media management, but it does mean that you should put some humanity into your social media and into your social media management. You can't expect someone to care about your product if all you ever talk about is you, right? You need to talk about the customer. You need to make them the hero and the focus of your story so that they actually resonate with and say, oh, I see myself in that, and not just, oh, I see Elon Musk in that. Like I see someone who I'll never be in this post. That just alienates people. So you really want to make them the focus of your content and talk about their problems and their needs more than just what shiny new product you have to offer.
Yeah. And so we've got these different things like LinkedIn posts and reels, and whether it's like TikTok or Instagram or YouTube or whatever
Yep.
it may be, or podcast now even today. And I guess it could differ, business to business, or, whether it's like a personal brand. But what are you seeing is, I guess, let's first take the business.
Yeah.
What type of content is creating maybe the most leads or the most engagement, and where should businesses focus? And then maybe a personal brand, what should they be creating, whether it's like, carousel posts or
Yeah.
whatever it may be, or Instagram reels, or these full length videos or podcasts or whatever it may be.
Yeah, that's good. I would say probably, yeah, if we're focusing on B2B first, I would say you really need to focus on creating content about your customers. So anything you can do talking about a real story, like one of the team members talking about a real story they had, just a conversation they just had with a customer, voicing some big problems and then how they solve those problems. A quick, even just a picture of you at work while you're talking to this customer, right? And then writing down that whole story is great for LinkedIn. If you wanted to tailor it specifically to Instagram, you could write a quick, like handheld video, just talking about how all these things just went down and how you solved this problem. Hey guys, I just talked to this customer. He had X as his problem, and then we did Y to solve it. And obviously not that short, but you wanna have it pretty short so that people don't get bored, essentially. Um, for a B2B business, if you ask me like where to focus your content, I would say it depends on your budget, but I would still primarily focus in on LinkedIn. There's just too much opportunity there for lead gen, for immediately recognizing who's interacting with your posts. And then also for immediately, like people are they're on LinkedIn to network and to do business, right? It's not just a platform for entertainment. There's some entertainment on there. People post funny things. And entertainment isn't always divorced from business, right? Like you can have a humorous, like a funny meme that gets people to be like, actually, I resonate with that. That makes a lot of sense. And I feel that. But that's where business people go to network and to, yeah, do their day-to-day business and talk about industry secrets, industry tips. And so I would just focus in on that. As that is the case, also LinkedIn still favors copywriting. It still favors conversations. So I would just put a lot of effort into storytelling. I would put a lot of effort into anecdotes, into anything you can to bring out the humanity of your company and your product. If you're B2C and you have a bigger budget, sure, like put a lot more money into probably your management of on Instagram and on X. You want to have a lot of personality, throw some humor out there, poke at your competitors, things like that. Like be a little edgy. That's a big trend right now for a lot of big brands. Like you'll see that from Wendy's and McDonald's and Burger King all the time. They're always like ribbing on each other online. And so like bringing a lot more flair and maybe like edginess is good, is healthy, just to get people, a little bit motivated. Um, but yeah, I would say overall, if we're focusing on B2B, I would still primarily, if you don't want to spend a bucket load on boosting posts, on uh any sort, boosting posts, paying for ad placements, things like that. If you don't want to spend a bucket load on that, probably your best bet is making conversational story driven content on LinkedIn.
Yeah. So you mentioned, and we've talked about how people want more character and depth and story, um, instead of just this mind-numbing, fast-paced da 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 content.
Yeah.
But then you also mentioned how we don't want to make it so long that it's boring. And so customer had X problem, we solved it with Y solution. So where do you see it to kind of draw that line of we're not wanting it to be, okay, this, that, boom, out of the way. But instead, there's more depth to it. There's more story to it. But then it's not long where
Yeah.
person's just going to be scrolling and like, never mind, I don't want to read this poster. I don't want to look at this because it's wasting too much time or so.
Yeah. There's a couple good tips for that. One of which is there's the 1-3-1 comment or concept, where essentially when you sit down to copyright, write your hook, write your first line. That's why people should even care about your post. Write 3 lines of, that are going to be the 3 reasons why, 3 things you're trying to communicate to the person, like why they should do this, how they should do it, when they should do it, kind of thing. And then that last sentence is going to be where you focus on your CTA. And when you do that, when you have this post idea, it really helps clarify like how much do I actually need to write about, right? Because then there's only 5 sentences. Anyone can read 5 short sentences. And so that can help clarify for you, okay, do I need 5 more? Do I need 10 more? Or do I just need these 5 or 6 sentences right here in front of me? That's a good tip. Another good tip would be, this is what my old boss, Tim Clark, always told me. Whenever you sit down to copyright, come back to it after half an hour and then cut it by 50%. So just like write all your thoughts out and then come back to it after half an hour and just chop it in half, like delete all your run-on sentences, get rid of the fluff, get rid of your anything redundant, and really just focus on like, what am I trying to communicate to people here? The author, Gary Halbert, he's a famous copywriter, tons of amazing newsletters. You should definitely check him out. One thing that he communicated in one of his newsletters was copywriting isn't as much about how you're saying it as much as it is about what you're saying. And that sounds counterintuitive at first because you're like, shouldn't I be writing super fancy and be writing all these tips and tricks and hooks? And he's like, yes, but imagine I'm running into a board meeting and I'm telling the CEO, your wife just had triplets. It's like, yeah, I could say your wife just had triplets. And I could also say your wife just had triplets at St. John's Hospital. And oh my goodness, one of them's huge, blah, blah, blah. Both are going to create a sense of urgency because the core of that is his wife just had triplets. And so it's like, it wasn't about how he's saying it. It's about the urgency of the actual thing he's communicating. And so I think that's another thing that might help people hone in on their message a little bit, is just what is the core of what you're actually saying? Like forget being forget having the most trendy post out there. Forget going viral. What is the core of the value you're offering? Focus on that and cut out the fluff, and you should have a pretty decent, concise post.
Yeah, so what is kind of the day-to-day life working for Red Balloon as social media look like? But also as you're trying to grow your personal brand and, doing these different challenges on LinkedIn or whatever it may be. Kind of
Yeah.
what does that look like?
Yeah, no, that's great. A lot of, not 9 to 5s. You're working overtime for sure. You got to put in a lot of effort to not let those jobs bleed into each other. Because you obviously want to respect your employer and not, waste time for him while you're there and not waste his dollars that he's investing in you. So definitely like be clear, do time audits, make sure you know where you're investing all your time. You have to start work earlier than 9 o'clock and you're going to have to work later than 5 most of the time. And so, it's just usually I'm starting the day around 7 a.m. ish, 6:30, 7 a.m. And then I'm ending the day at 5 or 5:30 and then doing a little bit of extra work after dinner or working out. And so, yeah, it's long days, but it's worth it, because if you actually believe that your mission and what you're trying to accomplish is worth it, then it's going to be, it's just going to give you that fuel to keep on going and keep motivated. It's helpful that what I do for the company is kind of where I'm building my other business, right? Because I'm doing their social media management, doing their copywriting for them. So kind of the skills I built in both areas sharpen each other, because when I copyright for Red Balloon, it helps me think about things that, maybe I should write that down. That's something that I can use for myself later, or something like that, like a little principle I thought of, or a little sentence that I made up. Um, that's one advantage I do have there, is my side hustle is kind of inspired by my main hustle. So
Yeah.
that's an advantage too. But definitely drawing clear lines between where you're spending your time. And yeah, you're just gonna have to put in more hours than a regular 9 to 5.
Yeah. So a lot of young people today look at social media and all these different influencers and kind of the freedom they have in, I don't have to work necessarily this 9 to 5, or I have this a lot more of this free time and can do, spend more time with my family, and I pick my own schedule. And so they see those influencers or social media people and think that's what I want to do when I grow up. That's where I want to be. So what is your best piece of advice, or best pieces of advice for them, as, you know, you're not one that grew up with social media and now that's what you do, but there may be 14, 15, 16, however old they may be, and they see these people and they're like, that's what I want to do one day.
Yeah. Oh, I think the best piece of advice I can give is probably forget going viral or getting famous. Focus on finding a service or value that you can offer, and just go all in on that. Like, forget having your freedom right away. Really, just like at the stage of life that I'm in right now, I'm 23, I'm newly married. What I have is an opportunity. I have time, and I have an opportunity to really just build skills, develop skills, grow in wisdom and intelligence, learn, read a ton. Forget really the rewards right now. Don't do it for the rewards. Do it for the process. Like, do it for what is motivating you outside of just the fame. Because if it's just the fame, once you get that, you're going to be super depressed and bored, because you'll be done. Your life will have no meaning after that.
Yeah.
So I would say just forget the fame and really just focus on finding a unique value that you can offer to uh like, find something that people need and start developing that skill, whether it's copywriting, whether it's pressure washing, whether it's I really like baking, something like that. Like, find something that makes you want to get up every day, and really just chase that, because something that you can always grow in and develop in, that's going to be more valuable and inspiring to you long term than just the idea of fame. And I'm willing to bet you that it's like most of the people that you're wishing that you were like, with freedom on the beach right now and taking up, is like, they're working longer hours than you think, and they're also probably no happier than you are right now. So find your happiness and your faith, your family. Find your freedom in your faith and your family. Like, invest in your relationships. Find your happiness outside of that, and then also, like, find work that inspires you and makes you happy. Because that's the only thing that's gonna last, is your relationships and the skills you develop. Fame will come and go for everyone. So yeah.
Yeah. So do you think that social media is the best way to grow your business or your personal brand and to get whatever you're doing out there today?
Yeah, personal brand, absolutely. Business, also pretty much absolutely. It depends. Obviously, there's exceptions to every rule, but that's where everyone spends their time right now, right? It's like TV was the rage at one point. Super Bowl ad placements are still valuable, but besides that, it's like your ad placements on TV are typically not going to get you as big a return on your investment as your social media posting. But yeah, I would say absolutely for right now, and who knows when that'll change. Maybe AI will affect that a lot. Right now, that's where a majority of people spend their free time, their board time, their off time. They're going to social media and investing a lot of time into those platforms. So I would just encourage people to think about what type of customers they actually have, right? If you're mowing lawns, then yeah, maybe throw some ads on social posts up, but also it's go to door, right? But if you are a company that's trying to work nationwide or worldwide, then absolutely you need to be investing in social media, because that's where people all over the world will they can find you right away and buy from you right away. So
Yeah. So do you think people should focus maybe on one social media platform and say, okay, we're going to focus this year, we're going to grind on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or whatever it may be? Or do you think they should have all of these social medias and say, we're this business where we can make content for Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, and we're going to devote each smaller increments to each of that platform instead of we're going to go full force on the LinkedIn this year. And then once that's grown, we're going to go full force onto Instagram next year and so on and so forth.
yeah. I would say definitely start out with just one or two platforms. If you find two platforms that translate pretty similarly, like for example, Facebook and Instagram, obviously they're both owned by Meta, and so there's a lot of similarities in the posting strategies and the type of content that works. But I would say focus, yeah, just on one or two platforms because remember your audience, remember where they're at. You don't spray and pray. Doesn't really work anymore with social media management. You need to be super intentional. You need to build a reputation too, and reputations take time to build. Especially if there's one or two hiccups, you need to make sure you invest enough to build a brand reputation beyond any like small mistakes. And so it takes time. It's just going to take a lot of investment. So I would absolutely advise just investing in one or two platforms for the first couple of years and then expanding after that. Unless, again, it depends on your budget. If you have a budget of a couple $1,000,000 and you can hire multiple people to manage each platform. I know a company that has a different person for each social media platform, one for X, one for Instagram, one for LinkedIn. And that's helpful because then you can compartmentalize better. But yeah, I would really focus on where is your audience primarily at. It doesn't mean everyone's there, but where's the largest concentration of your audience? Focus on that platform, get really good at it. And once you feel like you've mastered that and you're getting beyond what you thought you would originally get as far as lead gen or clients goes, then just, yeah, try a few other platforms, switch things up, but always keep that first platform. Because again, it's like, remember where your audience is at, meet them where they're at. Don't try and just like, if you're setting things up on like, I don't know, Telegram, right? It's like you for some businesses that might work, but for most people, that's not going to get them the right kind of clientele, right? It's just not personal enough. It's not, there's not a big enough audience on there. So just know where your audience is, focus on that platform or a couple platforms, depending on what you choose, and just really get good at that, because the more expertise you can build and the reputation you can build, the more likely people are going to trust you enough to buy from you.
Mm-hmm. So what is next for you as you're growing your personal brand, doing all these different challenges on LinkedIn, and then you're also doing social media for Rebel?
Yeah. Next for me is just, again, like I said, building that reputation. That's why I've started my personal branding now before I actually start my company, is because I want people to trust me enough to do work for them right away. I want to show people that I've gained a lot of skills through my work here at Rebel, and I've gained a lot of knowledge, expertise. I want to show people, I want to display the expertise, like the 100 comments post. I want to be able to show, not tell. So I'm really using this time to invest and lay down a good foundation for the future. So that's what's next for me, is just really getting just even better at what I'm doing right now, so that I can show people, not just, tell them, please believe me, I'm good at my job.
So where can people find out more about you and your work?
I would just go straight to LinkedIn. Asher Dixon on LinkedIn. I'm connected with Elijah, so go to Elijah's connections. Yeah, I would just go straight to LinkedIn. That's where I post the most. I don't have a huge presence on Instagram. I had a decently large presence on X for a while, but none of it was super branded around my social media strategy until about probably 3 months ago. So if you want to learn more about me and figure out what I do and see what I do, I would go to LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well, we will send the audience your way, and thank you for coming on the podcast today.
Yeah, thank you, Elijah. Thank you much.